Welcome to the Compile Podcast. This is a show where two programmers talk about anything and everything. My name is Nick Wu, and I'm the host of this podcast. Right now, we're entering this shorter format called In Between the Episodes, where we try to discuss a random topic and just do a lighter version of the main episode. And joining me again is our good friend John.
Glad to be back.
Hello, John.
Hi.
Yeah. How are you doing today?
Good. Doing great.
Yeah, good.
How are you?
I'm doing okay. It's very hot here today.
Oh no.
It's like 33 degrees.
Oh my.
AC here.
Wow.
So yeah, it's a little bit crazy.
Is it cooling down overnight at least?
I hope so. It's about 8:30 now, and it doesn't seem like it's cooling down.
Oh man.
So yeah, I got a fan. Yeah, it's okay. So today's topic, we're just gonna talk about exercise for developers. And before I go into any sort of specific on this one, I want to preface the topic with a stereotype that developers do not work out. You know, as programmers, we sit on our sit in front of our computers and we sit there all day. And I've heard this from people. I'm sure John, you've heard it from people.
Mm-hmm.
This is not true, obviously. And let's try to go through. I mean, easier for us to give examples, but do you feel like, you know, why do you feel like people have this impression, and you know, where are they making the wrong assumptions? Where maybe
I think it probably comes from like movies and the image of like the developer from the 80s in popular culture or something like that. Whereas, you know, obviously the culture has changed a lot and there's a lot more people and it's a lot diverser of a profession than it was even just a couple of years ago.
Yeah, definitely. And from what I've heard is the reasoning seems to be, you know, for our work, we have to sit in front of a computer naturally, and it just becomes a norm where we just sit here and then we don't really venture outside, which is another thing that's kind of weird to me. Yeah, so I think you've hit an excellent point where, you know, this is how it's usually portrayed, and you know, which is why people get this impression. So today we're going to rectify that impression and talk about how we developers exercise. So before we go into how exactly each of us exercise routine it looks like, and I just want to briefly talk about like sort of the motivation for exercising for each of us, because I'm sure there are some developers that's listening to this that do not exercise. I'm not knocking you. I'm just saying like you might want to consider start doing. Do you have a very strong sort of motivation point that, you know, keeps you going out and like doing all the exercising, John?
Yeah. So for me, I exercise a little bit less for the sake of exercising and more actually as a separate like long-term goal. Mm-hmm. So most of my exercise, as you're aware, is through, I like to rock climb, which is becoming a very popular thing among developers actually. And for me, the biggest motivator is actually just, I have goals that I want to reach with my rock climbing ability. And rather than just wanting to say, oh, I want to exercise for, you know, half an hour a day every day or something, it's, I have specific goals that I want to reach with my climbing ability. Just for the sake of climbing, and also to have, I think it's valuable to have goals outside of my work life.
Yeah.
So it's a nice way to have some good goals external to my career.
Yeah, definitely.
How about you? What is your motivations?
Yeah, so I think what you're saying is, you know, it's sort of motivation in terms of like out of a hobby and out of, you know, the pursuit of, you know, a passion.
Correct.
Where you know, it kind of flows naturally into going to exercise. My motivation was a little bit more forced. I was very overweight at one point. I am still a little bit, and I want to change that. And it's gotten to the point where I feel I'm not as healthy anymore. I used to be a lot better as a kid, and then there's this one period of my life I wasn't moving, and then I got a bit overweight. So I want to change that, and I started doing exercise sort of just as a way to like get rid of, you know, the extra fat. But actually it changed very soon afterwards. It changed like in about a month. It changed, and I sort of find out about the joy of doing an exercise, and we're actually going to talk about this in a little bit more detail in a bit, where you spend your energy and to accomplish something, and then it works, and then you can see the results. It's sort of very gratifying to see like your actual physical work turn into tangible change. Not just like on the body. Just in general, in terms of I can make this dumbbell leave the ground and rise up to this much, and then I can make it do this 5 or 6 times. And these are sort of like little things that that might sound a little bit crazy, but it was definitely something I've relate to a lot.
Yeah, I get that totally.
And I still do. So yeah.
And another, I guess, motivator for me, just to give people, various suggestions for ways to find motivation, is I like to go, and I think we have this on the list of things to talk about, but I like to go shortly after work, sort of because, and it's hard to do because it's the time I'm kind of least motivated to go, because it's been a long day and I'm tired and I kind of just want to go home and lounge around and do nothing. But I find if I go straight to the gym, or like relatively quickly to the gym, and do even just a short 30-minute workout or whatever, I'm re-energized, and I kind of can take better advantage of the rest of my evening.
Oh yeah, definitely. That's actually a good point, because if you leave work, if like return home tired, you're just gonna be tired, right? Because you can go to the gym, do a little bit of exercise, get a shower, and feel a little bit more refreshed, and then you go home.
Yeah.
At that point, you feel like, oh, I am tired, but I've had a little bit of like a little tiny reboot, and I'm ready for the evening. Mm-hmm. Does that describe what your mental sort of changes?
Yeah, I think it is. And it's mostly mental, and it can be nice even if you do a lighter workout, because obviously if you work out a lot, you're just going to be even more tired. But doing a light workout can be great just for your like mental state.
Yeah, definitely. I actually do something similar to that as well, and we're just gonna get into some of our workout routines. I do one in the morning where I swim after I wake up, as a way to wake up, and so I can wake up, feel a little bit sluggish, and be like, oh, I haven't had enough sleep, and then do a 20 to 30-minute workout. It's very short. It's just like a sort of like a kick in the morning to get me started, similar to what coffee does, if that makes sense. And then I take a shower, I drink my coffee, and then I'm totally ready for the day and ready for work. Yeah, so that's what I usually do. I try to do one in the afternoon as well, but that's definitely not daily, because I don't have that much energy, to be honest. So John, do you do like do you do a regular workout after work, or do you have like a separate time for this?
I'll usually go after work. I'll usually work a full day. I like to get in earlier to work, actually, to try and beat the rush in the afternoon. So I'll get into work a little bit earlier. I guess kind of early for a developer, around 8 or 8:30.
Oh, that is very early.
Yeah, I guess it's more the norm for engineers to come in around 10, even though normal people maybe come around 9. So it's extra early for an engineer. But that means I can leave relatively early in the evening, and I'll usually go get some food or something, and then go directly to the gym to try and get my workout in. And I'll usually work out for probably about an hour and a half, but it is a lot slower paced of a workout, because it's more of a hobby, really. So it takes longer.
Yeah.
But it's more enjoyable.
And when you say workout, is this rock climbing?
Correct. Right? Yeah. So I usually go to the climbing gym and do my routine.
Ah, okay. Yeah, I was very curious about like doing rock climbing, but I have so many questions. Yeah, so let's keep that, and we'll probably do a separate episode in the future. Another thing that I do, like in addition to the morning ones, is I go to the gym to do weight, and I'm not saying like you have to do weight. This is just something that I've been doing for the past 3 years, and I do this twice to 3 times a week, and this is just something for me to do a similar effect as what John does, is to sort of unwind after work, because this is we're actually gonna touch on this a little bit, is when you are working out, when you are trying to push something or trying to do something with weights, your mind is very focused on getting that weight to the direction that you want to, because it's heavy, and you don't really have the leeway to, so to speak, to think about other things. So when I'm like squatting, like on a heavy thing, all I care about is making my legs work and I can stand up. And I think, John, you can probably elaborate on this a little bit more. That after this, if I have a very intense work day, and I feel very like mentally depleted, and then I do the workout where I'm like totally focused on something else completely, and then I relax, and then I take a shower, I relax. When I come out of the shower, I feel like, oh, I'm actually not as depleted as I felt before I started, which is amazing. Right?
Yeah, no, definitely. I think it is a really good way to sort of rest mentally, like you say, because you are focusing intently, but it's not a lot of mental exertion. It's like the physical exertion and just focused on that physical sensation. It's sort of a very primal thing, I guess. And it is really nice. You feel sort of, I don't know, I feel better after, relaxed almost.
Yeah, and then another thing that I want to touch on is this, like doing this exercise, actually does benefit on your work as a developer. Doing this sort of like you gotta have to plan around the work as we do, so because we have routines, so then it fits within our work style, within our lifestyle, and then work with our time schedule. This is sort of like a planning exercise that you can do, right? Because I go through like different phases of my life where I plan very different work schedule. Sometimes I do it like one afternoon, one morning, one afternoon. Sometimes I do one afternoon, one evening, or like whatever. So going through all of that bit, and then trying to like plan it so that you can get some exercise in, and also does not compromise your normal work. It's actually quite tricky, and it's a fun exercise to play with. Do you feel that way, John?
I do, yeah, and that can make it really hard to like stick to your like workout schedule, I think, in part because I don't know, work hours can vary a lot. I find that my work schedule isn't necessarily super consistent all the time, which is maybe something on me to try and improve and make it more consistent. But having the workout routine and trying to keep that consistent can be nice to have kind of a fixed point to have in reference.
Oh, I see.
In addition to
yeah. I see. So you're actually going about it in a way where my workout time is my workout time, and then however my actual hours vary, this is the fixed thing. Is that okay? That's interesting. Yeah.
Yeah, and I think that is two values. One is it helps kind of put into reference the rest of your day.
Yeah.
If you have kind of this consistent and relatively straightforward thing. The other thing is working out with and doing it consistently. I think it's easier if you do it consistently, if you have a schedule that you try to stick to. And this is sort of one point we had on here to talk about, is like tips for sticking to the schedule. And this kind of falls in there because I think even if you maybe block out, I don't know, in half an hour or an hour or whatever it is a day for working out, and you have that as your fixed point, I think the more important thing is showing up and doing something every day.
Absolutely,
even if you don't hit your entire duration. So like one thing I do is I kind of have that fixed time that I block for working out. And if I'm really not feeling motivated, I go and I just do it for like 15 minutes, just doing something. Because I know if I don't do it at all, I'm much more likely to fall off in future days. Whereas even if I go just for 15 minutes, at least I'm still on the ball.
Yeah. That's such a good point, and I have a lot of struggles on this bit as well, where sometimes it just like I have the time for sure, and I'm there, I have all the equipment, and I'm just like I don't want to go, and and yeah, so that happens for everybody. That's just resistance that that comes into literally everything in life, and everything hard in life, absolutely. So like, I guess my tip is sort of similar to John's, where do show up if you feel like it's not your day and you don't really feel like working too much. Do a light workout. That's also possible. And or for me, if I'm feeling I'm not gonna do it, and I'll just do, like, I'll just start, like, I'm just gonna not think about the whole workout, because like sometimes you can psych yourself out, just be like, oh, I have to do like this workout that lasts 30 minutes with like X number of exercise, and I'm gonna, like, it's so long. It's so long. And then one of the tips I found quite helpful to overcome that hurdle is, like, I'm just gonna do like one move. I'm just gonna do the next move that I have, and just don't think about, like, oh, I have to do like this like whole routine which like lasts 2 rounds of like 15 different exercises. I'm just do the warm up one, and feel as much as you like. If at some point you feel like, oh, this is like, I'm not into it anymore, and at that point at least you've tried, and you've definitely I assume you've done your best, and that if that in your mind it goes, oh, I'm not gonna do it anymore, then it's fine to walk away. I don't know if it works necessarily, because I find myself doing this quite often, and I sometimes there are days where I don't necessarily feel I'm not ready, but I sometimes cut short, like I cut like 5 to 6 exercises short, which is not so good.
Yeah.
But yeah, I feel like it's still helpful to like get you in, at least, instead of like skipping it out like totally.
Definitely. Yeah, I agree completely. One other thing, we're getting close to time, but I'll throw out, is I like to use an app to track my routine. One of these apps that tells you, okay, this is the workout you have to do. You need to do, if I'm doing like a core, you need to do, a minute of sit-ups. I like to use the app to hold me accountable, because then it's a little bit easier to just say, okay, I'm just going to focus on what I have to do right now. Like, whatever the app is telling me, I'm just going to do that, and not have to think about, like you said, not have to think about the whole 30-minute routine. It's, okay, I need to do a minute of sit-ups. I can do a minute.
Yeah, definitely. That's exactly my point. Just think about the ones you are doing right now. Like, just do that one and see how it feels. Like, if I feel like I'm not gonna do it, at least I've done one. So so that is sort of our quick tip on that bit. And this is a shorter episode, so we're gonna keep it that way. So we're almost time here. The last bit of thing that want our audience to practice is, if you're not exercising, try to start exercising. It's definitely useful, and people do it for a reason. And if you have some different routines that you find worth sharing, or if you just want to like throw out your what exercise you do, or what sort of routine do you do, or the importance of exercise for you, or do you have some tips on sticking to your schedule, let us know in the comments, and both, at least me and John will be able to benefit from it, from at least to a degree. So, and let on however many people you can help. So definitely let us know. So that's that's the episode. And thank you again, John, for doing an extra one on this. I know it's over sort of lunchtime in the Bay Area now. So yeah.
That's all right. No, it's great. I think it's an interesting topic.
Yeah, cool. So again, thank you very much. And you can find our episodes on YouTube, iTunes, and Google Play. And if you cannot find it straight away, just search for The Compile Podcast, and you should be able to find it. Again, my name is Nick Wu. Thanks, John, for coming on to the podcast, and we will see you very soon.
See you later.